Hi, my name is Claudia Cruz, and welcome to Patchcast. Patch is a local community news and information hub, and we're hoping to make your life as easy as possible here in Mountain View, Cupertino, and Los Altos. I'm here with my colleague,
L.A. Chung. I am with Los Altos Patch, and we have one more colleague who's not with us today. That's Ann Ernst with Cupertino Patch, but we will be bringing you Cupertino news today.
And again, Claudia Cruz, I'm the editor of Mountain View Patch. And let's get straight to the news. In Mountain View, police are seeking a man who they believe exposed himself to a Crittenden middle schooler on Monday afternoon. They also believe this man may be the same man who exposed himself to her a year earlier, February of 2011. The young girl described the man as in his 50s with gray medium hair. He wore a baseball cap and jeans. And the key part of what they're, I guess, honing their investigation on is the fact that he drove a red Jeep Cherokee, according to the girl's description. Tuesday night, the City Council decided to approve and move forward with their joint powers agreement with the Silicon Valley Animal Control Authority and agency, excuse me. And part of this agreement was created in an effort by the City Council to save money in these economic times. So they actually withdrew from a contract, terminated a contract with Palo Alto Animal Services in November of 2011, saving the city $40,000. But in another hand,
excuse me, isn't it more like $400,000? It's fairly substantial.
It's costing Palo Alto $450,000, but it saves the city $40,000.
Okay.
And that is a point of controversy in the area because some of the people locally have long ties with Palo Alto Animal Shelter. And in a vote of 6-1, decided to move forward with the new agreement, and the lone dissenter was Councilwoman Laura Macias.
Well, you know, Los Altos and Los Altos Hills is watching this with great interest, of course, because they are the other cities that contract with Palo Alto Animal Services. So if Palo Alto concludes that they can no longer afford to keep Palo Alto Animal Services going, of course, Los Altos and Los Altos Hills will have to find a new shelter with which to contract. Mm-hmm. Most likely the same shelter that the Mountain View City Council just voted to use.
The Mountain View Wisma School District has a Measure G, on the ballot, and they're trying to raise $198 million to help improve several schools in the district. And part of that could mean also the construction of a new school site or the reopening of a currently closed site. And they're really making an effort to get the word out there and trying to bring voters on board. I mean, $198 million is a lot of money for these economic times, again, but the schools have experienced lots of cuts throughout the last couple of years, so they're turning to the voters for help.
Well, schools are really important in Mountain View, and they're hyper important in Los Altos. I think the top news that we have coming out of Los Altos this week was a bit of a stunner. The Bullis Charter School in the Los Altos School District, for anyone who's been paying attention lately, has been a long-running conflict. It's for people on the outside. I think it's a little bit difficult to comprehend. But you have one of the top school districts in the state. Mm. You know, usually Los Altos School District usually is number 1 or number 2 in the state on the STAR tests and the other tests, the API scores in particular. And it has a charter school. And it's a very high-performing charter school. It is the highest-performing charter school in the state. But there's been conflict over the years because of Prop 39 guarantees that, or says that school districts must provide reasonably equivalent facilities for all charter schools in their boundaries. So there has been lawsuit after lawsuit, and I think both sides had gotten so weary of this annual exercise in asking for space, not getting the space that they wanted, sides being unhappy, one side saying we're complying, one side saying no, you're not complying, we'll see you in court. And it was really spending a lot more time on lawsuits and complying with Prop 39 than it was with educating children. Everyone's really weary about this. They went into mediation this year, and this is following an appeals court decision that found in favor of Bullis Charter School. And looking at this, thinking that this was going to be the end of it, and it turned out it wasn't, they decided to go into mediation. The mediation did produce some results. And on Monday, there was a surprise announcement at the school board meeting that they had come up with a tentative agreement. The details to be hammered out over this next month before they get the agreement signed. But Bullis Charter School will be continuing on the Egan Junior High School location under this. They're not going to occupy two schools as previously.
And the two schools were Egan and Black?
Yeah,
it would have been Egan and Black?
Yes, Los Altos School District this year, following the appeals court decision, had offered two sites. Bullis, because it does a unified K-8 program where the junior high school level kids are not separated from the elementary, or rather the K-6 grade kids. They all want to be on one site, and that was one thing that they were having difficulty figuring out the configuration of which. And they went through different permutations. But this is a long-term agreement where the school district wants to needs to have a 10th site. That's what it has been saying all along. I mean, there may be some people who are quibbling and say, you don't need a 10th site, you just need to disperse kids in a different way. But the school district says we need a 10th site so that we will have, it has nine campuses now. We need a 10th site so that Bullis Charter School will have its own site. We don't have to do this sharing thing. We don't have to have people unhappy. And so they are going to be going to the ballot box, we think, in November. And if not November, then the next even year election for a bond measure to build a 10th site. Okay. But there's a lot of things that have to happen before that. They may be going to Mountain View to look for potential space to have a 10th campus. They have to convince the voters that this would be a good idea and that it's worthwhile investing in schools, high-performing schools, in order to improve both the Los Altos School District schools and the Bullis Charter School. There's a lot on the plate, and there's a lot of questions, because the other thing that involves is in between that time they have to give if a bond measure passes, and even if a bond measure doesn't pass, the Los Altos School District will need to close a school, one of 4 schools that they've identified, and that campus will go to Bullis.
So it's a rearranging of the.
And there's a lot of unknowns. Yes, there's a lot of unknowns right now, because which school, which of 4 potential schools will get closed down depends on the 10th site they identify. If they don't identify a 10th site, then I imagine there's a different calculus that goes into that. But we won't be seeing that discussion happen until sometime next year. Right now, what the concern is trying to identify a site and trying to figure out whether you can go forward with the bond measure. So that's what's happening on the school front. It's quite a bit. There'll be quite a bit to watch. I'd love to bring someone in to talk about it, or multiple people in to talk about it, because it's very emotional. But the district, and I believe the Bullis Charter School Board, feel that this is one step towards healing. There's a lot of angry parents out there saying, no, it's not one step towards healing. But I think charter schools are here to stay. And so I think everyone has to figure out, people are finding a way. How do you coexist? How do you collaborate? Someday they want to collaborate. How do you prosper? I mean, the idea of charter schools has improved the level of education for everyone, that you can experiment in this way, that regular school districts cannot. On Sunday, there was a lovely swishy event in Los Altos Hills at the home of Kavita Tanka, who has been a big supporter of President Obama.
Support our electeds to make sure that we win back the House, to keep the Senate, and to restore democratic values. We need 4 more years.
This was a kickoff for the volunteers to sort of get energized. They are in the middle. The Democratic Party is the local Democratic Party is in the middle of finishing the negotiations, and they hope to sign a lease or a rental agreement on a property, the old town Ford in Menlo Park on El Camino Real. They're really thrilled because it's a big space,
okay.
you know, lots of parking, so that it can they can do all their telephone banking and everything else from there. And I was talking to the coordinator of this, and he just said in 2008 they had a lot of energy coming out of the Southern Peninsula, Los Altos, Mountain View, Redwood City, Menlo Park, Palo Alto, and they want to harness that again, and that's why they chose the location that they did. In 2008 they were in Palo Alto, so now they're moving up to Menlo Park. Local Los Altos people who were really, really instrumental in this, of course, was Kavita Tanka, who's going to be involved with the Obama re-election campaign, and then Emily Thurber, who has been active in Los Altos, you know, in the city of Los Altos for many, many years, and she was the one who invited all the elected officials. It was a kind of who's who in the Lower Peninsula of elected officials. Anna Eshu spoke, tried to get the crowd energized, and you had candidates for office, so you had Sally Lieber from Mountain View and okay. Jerry Hill running for the Senate, state Senate. You had Paul Fong. You had, I'm going to forget people, you had Steve Wesley, who gave an amazing energized speech. And then you also had, I'm trying to think who the other person is, but you got a number of elected officials. Oh, actually, the kicker was seeing Ira Ruskin. He was the state assemblyman based in Los Altos, and he's actually from San Mateo County. Ira Ruskin made an appearance. Last year he was diagnosed with brain cancer. A lot of people were very concerned. He looked really good. People were really happy to see Ira. And tonight, or rather May 9th, there's going to be the kickoff for the Republicans, I guess, of a sort. Carly Fiorina is going to be speaking at the Fremont Hills Country Club in Los Altos Hills. This is for an organization called SPARC. SPARC stands for Southern Peninsula Area Republican Coalition. So that's going to be a gathering of Republicans tonight at the Fremont Hills Country Club. They're going to be talking about you know, what to look forward to. Ms. Fiorina is going to be giving a whole update on Republican Party politics for the election year. And that's what I have so far from, you know, for the political season.
It's a busy time. So I mean, when you think about the fact that the rest of the country has had this upswing of political news for so long, and you know, there's stuff happening in California, but it hasn't, because the primary season is just arriving. You know, there's not, I mean, Mitt Romney's considered the nominee, so that there's been less political maneuvering here, at least at the national level. But now, again, all things local. We're getting to the crux of what makes these communities special, which is these local candidates going out there and making moves and trying to either stay in their seats or get a new one. So it's going to be fun to, at least fun and exhausting, but we look forward to covering the political season here at Patch. Over in Cupertino, this evening, the Cupertino Main Street project is being considered, and there is a public meeting on Wednesday night, and you know, there's the downtown Main Streets are very important to a lot of our communities, and I'm sure that Cupertino is the residents there look forward to really putting in their input as to how they want to see their general plan and precise plan look at a burgeoning Main Street. Monte Vista High School came in 97th place in the national rankings of the U.S. News and World Reports, that's out of 22,000 high schools ranked 97th. And actually, from the notes on Cupertino Patch, is actually a nice thing for California schools. 20% of the top 500 schools were all in California. So, and I believe we have one in our district, Los Altos.
Yes.
We're very proud of Mountain View Los Altos Union High School District has Los Altos High School among the top 500 in the country, actually at number 404, which is very respectable. We're very happy for all the work that's being done there, and I believe that Los Altos can possibly also claim another.
Well, I would say,
Los Altos students.
Los Altos students. Actually, what was actually interesting about this is that Homestead High School, which is the alma mater of the Apple co-founders Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs.
Homestead in Cupertino.
Homestead located in Cupertino. It didn't rank at all, but it doesn't mean you can't found the next the next big company that is probably bigger than some countries. So, you know, don't despair if you didn't make the U.S. News and World Report best high schools in the country. Doesn't necessarily mean something, but
yeah,
you just need the right students.
Well, speaking of Apple and staying in Cupertino, Apple Computers signed an interesting social media agreement with a company called PIRQ, P-I-R-Q, and PIRQ actually offers employees perks to go shop and eat at different locations, and some of these discounts would be given to these Apple employees who spend money in Cupertino, Sunnyvale, Mountain View, and Santa Clara. So it doesn't require users to pre-purchase anything, just as Groupon does, and I think maybe that's one could be a reason why Apple, you know, there's a lot of talk in the tech world that it could be a move for Apple towards acquiring a company like PIRQ, since some people aren't, you know, just to create competition for Groupon. And I mean, this is how Silicon Valley has been working for a while, and this is the opportunities that these companies try to take advantage of.
Summer's not till June, but what we have, I have a little video I'd like to roll of the farmers market, which opened last week in downtown Los Altos. I met a delightful young woman who actually, I think, works out of Mountain View, and they make all natural organic pops, you know, ice pops. And she had with her some tomato plants. They're going to make tomato pops, and these were Amish paste tomato plants. She's going to tell you all about why Amish paste tomato are like the best. Lilia, what do you have there?
I have an Amish paste tomato. Actually, I have 3 of them. And
what's so special about Amish paste tomatoes?
Amish paste tomatoes are absolutely delicious. They're the best tomato. They have really firm flesh and a very intense tomatoey flavor to them. We had 14 tomato plants last year, and we were all fighting over the Amish pastes.
Then, my second one is the Los Altos Hills Pathways Run. Ellie Vanderlip, who is a Los Altos Hills resident and a student at Freestyle Academy, has produced a really great video about what you'll see if you go on the Los Altos Hills Pathways Run on May 12th, which is a Saturday morning annual rite of early summer. Los Altos Hills can feel like a bit of an enclave, but it's really, this is sort of like this homespun little run, and it's all comers and, you know, people who want to run in a beautiful area. This is the place to go. So we'll see that.
In Mountain View is the annual community yard sale, which as a newcomer to the city, it was so much fun to cover it last year for Patch, and we definitely want to go back. And I'll bring more money this time, but you know it's produced or it's run out of the Community Services Recreations Department at Franksdorf Park from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. and you know, community members paid a small fee to get a small little plot of land, and you know, some people's trash is another one's treasure. So we had these great. I ended up buying lawn chairs for beach, and then I also, I mean, just saw these great tchotchkes. People, you know, I mean, there's clothing, there's shoes, there's salt and pepper shakers, there's I mean, and a lot of this stuff is very well taken care of because some of these owners are collectors. So they just held on to things and they buy and resell over and over again. So the community yard sale is something to look forward to. Also coming up in a few weeks, PG&E will be doing some pipeline replacement here in Mountain View. They'll be replacing pipeline 109, which currently runs through Middlefield Road from about Sierra Vista on along to Shoreline, and then where it connects to another line, and it's actually will be circumventing Middlefield and going behind Terabella, and then joining up with the line over at Shoreline. And this is actually, you know, it's part of their modernization efforts to make sure that their pipelines are safe and up to all the other standards that all the national and state standards, so that in order to prevent hopefully another San Bruno disaster. And something that we just covered last week quickly is the a la carte festival took place on Saturday, and it seemed very successful for vendors and the organizers and shoppers alike. I mean, they usually get between 50 and 60,000 people, and it was, again, we've had great weather, so it's Saturday and Sunday, May 5th and 6th. People just packed downtown Castro for Mother's Day shopping. A lot of people did Mother's Day shopping. For dancing, there was usually they bring great bands, and people just, you know, get together and enjoy just a stroll down Castro. It's one of the nice things that because, you know, going back to Cupertino and their Main Street project, having a very strong and vibrant Main Street allows for things like this. Anything coming up in?
Oh, you bet. So I have two things. One for Mother's Day on May 13th, and one a little bit farther down the road. On Sunday at the Stonecourt Mansion, the Global Women's Network is having its Mother's Day brunch. It's a fundraiser. It's a really interesting organization. I'll be writing about it in Patch coming up this next week. And then finally, Sod Blitz, which, what's Sod Blitz? Sudden Oak Death Syndrome. This is a sort of a citizen scientist event. Every year they do this. And with Sod Blitz, they're going to go out there and they're going to look for trees that are bay trees that are sort of indicators of where sudden oak death might be happening. And that uses individuals up in Los Altos Hills. It's a UC Berkeley project. Very interesting, and we'll be writing about that as well.
Trees are a very important part of our ecosystem and our communities. We speak about this all the time, how this whole area used to be just a bunch of orchards, and it's nice to have people caring about and just protecting our natural resources. One of the things actually that I also covered last week, but it's maybe a nod towards the future, is there's a Walgreens that opened up, a new Walgreens actually very close to more Los Altons on El Monte, right near El Monte and El Camino Real, and it's actually the third Walgreens in Mountain View. And one of the interesting things about this Walgreens is that it's the only one in the city of Mountain View with a drive-through. And you would think at first, why would I want to drive through to a Walgreens? And there was actually some controversy as to why there's just so many drive-throughs, trying to reduce people getting in their cars. But this was to make it easier for elderly and mothers with children to to be able to access the pharmacy window. But we're almost, time flies when you're talking about the news, because our communities are so dynamic. So thank you very much for joining us, Lisa. LA, thanks for another wonderful week at Patchcast. I think that's the name we're going to stick with now, Patchcast. And we want to thank the staff and crew of KMVT for all their wonderful help. And remember to log on to mountainview.patch.com, losaltos.patch.com, and Cupertino.patch.com for the latest in local community news and information. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and we'll see you next week.